Hello, today we're discussing major and minor intervals. The major and minor intervals include the second, the third, the sixth, and the seventh. The unison would not be appropriately called a major or minor interval because that's the same note. For example, if I play a D and play my open string at the same time, that's a unison, that's the same note. Even if a trumpet and a flute played the same pitch, that would be a unison, even though in music notation they would be called by different names. Similarly, the octave is not either major or minor, it is also the same note. The notes fit together so well they're called by the same name. The D in the open string and the D in the third finger. They just fit together perfectly. Now the fourth and the fifth are a bit different. They're called perfect intervals because when they're played in tune, there are no interference waves. They tune in perfectly to each other. Sometimes there'll be slight differences with the bow pressure changing and whatnot. That's as close as I'm going to get for right now. That's a fifth. The violin is tuned in perfect fifths. The fourth also has the potential of tuning into itself perfectly so that there are no interference waves. Now the other notes have interference waves, meaning the two pitches do not blend perfectly, but the resonant frequency of one pitch and the resonant frequency of the other pitch clash enough to create a third wave, which is called the interference wave. It's a question of, does the interference wave sound good or does it sound unpleasant? For example, a third might be sweet, or a little out of tune, it will sound sour. When you start playing the major and minor second, however, you have two intervals, both of which are dissonant, but one's more dissonant than the other. The major second derives from the major scale. We've been working with D major, where the D is the bass and the E is the second note. That's a major second. Now I can lower that E, played by the first finger, a half step, to an E flat, and then the clash is even more dissonant. That's a minor second. There's only a half step between the open D, or the fourth finger played on the G string, and the first finger coming just above the nut of the fingerboard to create a minor second. If another half step is taken, then we have the normal step in a D scale going to a major second. The next note would be the third. 1, 2, 3. And in a major scale, again, that is a major third. There are two whole steps, one here and another here, to create that major third. If I go one whole step and then go a half step, that's a minor third. And that would be the step in a minor scale. Something like that. Similarly, when I go to the interval of a sixth in the major scale, that's a major sixth. In the minor scale, That's a minor sixth. Now, it holds true with any two notes. If they are a whole step apart, that's a major second. A half step apart, that's a minor second. Two whole steps apart, a major third. One whole step and a half step apart, a minor third. If it's a perfect fifth and a whole step, that would be a major sixth. If it's a perfect fifth and a half step, that would be a minor sixth. The next one is the seventh. In our major scale, that's the seventh degree of the scale, and that forms a major seventh, a very dissonant interval. If I lower that seventh a half step, then I have a minor seventh. And while that is not a degree of a normal major scale, it's very common in music to find this relationship of the minor seventh when the music is going from, say, the D tonality to a G tonality, because the chord tends to resolve to the G. That's been a tradition of Western music for hundreds of years, and our ear tends to expect that. In effect, taking the C sharp down a half step to the C natural delivers us from the key of D to the key that has one less sharp, which is the key of G. And the C natural is a natural note in the scale of G. It's just a trick, you might say, that composers learned. Now, these relationships hold true in any direction. For example, if I take the E, which I'm playing with the fourth finger, and I go down one octave and come up a half step, that would be a major seventh. It's an octave minus a half step. If I go one octave minus a whole step, then it would be a minor seventh. Similarly, if I start, let's say with the C sharp, and I go across the fingerboard to the perfect fifth, and then down a whole step, that makes a major sixth. If I cross to a perfect fifth, and then down a half step, that makes a minor sixth. So these are the way that the major and minor intervals lay out. Now with the perfect fourth and perfect fifth, there's one more observation. They do not get the name major or minor, but sometimes they can be either diminished or augmented. For example, when the fourth is expanded, you remember from our scale, we get an augmented fourth, which is a tritone. Similarly, if a fifth was diminished a half step, it would also make a tritone. That's it for right now.